Peace, peace, family. This video is about nuclear weaponry versus chemical weaponry and the difference. Now, nuclear weaponry is made when you manipulate the nucleon, which is located in the nucleus of an atom. Now, a nucleon is just a word that means the particles of or the parts of an atom inside the nucleus. So a nucleon could only be the neutron or the proton. Now, chemical warfare, to make a chemical weapon, would be to manipulate the atoms or the particles of an atom within a molecule. So atoms individually are atoms. When atoms bond together, they're called molecules. Y'all following me? So now let's break down the difference. First, we're going to skip nuclear because nuclear is a little bit longer to explain. We're going to break down chemical weaponry. Chemical weaponry is when they take chemical elements, because when you look at the periodic elements tables chart, at the bottom, see different periodic elements tables charts come created differently, family. But for the most part, on most of them, at the bottom, there's either an all gray area or an area that's like orange, or just has a different color that separates it from the rest of the chart, and it tells you that it's unnatural. So when you look at the chemical element at the top right of each box, and the element at the top right corner of each box, it'll tell you like this element is a gas, liquid, or solid, or it's a natural element. The bottom and some of the ones contained within the periodic elements tables chart lets you know that they're unnatural. These are man-made elements that only last for a fraction of a second that they are composing. And that's what they put on the chart. That ain't what they didn't put on the chart. We don't know what the fuck they got in these laboratories. But for the most part, these are man-made chemicals that react negatively and violently to the biological construction and computation of humans. So these motherfuckers is in these laboratories diabolically creating artificial elements which, once digested within the five senses of the African people, being through our eyes, our nose, our mouth, through sound or through touch, cause unnatural chemical reactions in the body in order to destroy us. This is called chemical warfare, okay? So not only do you got chemical warfare, this is the standard for it. They're doing it every day with vaccines, food, candy, water. Like I said, it's perspective. Is water, when you put these chemicals in it, Kool-Aid, or is it contaminated water? Okay? This is all chemical warfare. Even the shit you eat every day is chemical warfare on you. They don't even sell the same food that they sell in the suburbs that they sell in the inner cities or the ghettos or the hood. So understand, family, chemtrails, all of this shit goes in the category of chemical warfare. Then you have nuclear warfare, where what they doing is they're taking antimatter that they're extracting out of photons, because remember, photons is matter and antimatter combined, which I'll break down in my video, the Mandela effect and spiritual warfare. I'll go into that more. But for the long story short, they're taking antimatter out of the centers of atoms, photons, and out of photon particles, which is pure light, and they're taking it out of its etheric state, because antimatter does not exist in this realm. And what they're doing is they're harvesting it. And as soon as antimatter comes in contact with an actual chemical or a piece of matter, so let's just say oxygen. Oxygen is everywhere. Let's say carbon, nitrogen is all in the atmosphere. Remember, nitrogen is used to make bombs. Is an ignitable element. Soon as antimatter comes in contact with one of these elements, they create an explosion. Now, an explosion is just disorder. Okay? So, grenades create disorder within your chemical makeup. So you explode. Okay? Y'all follow me, family? So when bombs go off, bombs are just force harvested to a point to where once it's released, it has such a ripple effect on a quantum level that it actually, let's say, detaches molecules from itself, atoms, at a high rapid pace, which causes what you would now deem an explosion. So an explosion is just when the atomic structure of an object is rampantly discombobulated. That is an explosion. So what they're doing is they're using antimatter in the form of weapons. These motherfuckers is taking material that don't even belong in this realm, harvesting it, okay? So the same way they take oxygen, put it in a tank and take it under the water where it don't belong. These motherfuckers is taking antimatter from the universe, bringing it here, and using it as a weapon. Now, why is this important? Because 1 gram of antimatter is equal to 4 Hiroshimas bombs. They got antimatter all over the motherfucking planet in these underground facilities. So why is antimatter dangerous, family? Because if one antimatter go off, everything's interconnected on a unified field. So one effect over here gives the equal effect over there. Now, what do I mean by this? If, let's say, some antimatter go off in Australia, the antimatter that they got in America automatically detonates. So now, why is this important? These motherfuckers got antimatter all over the motherfucking planet, family. It's at least 14 laboratories worldwide. America has 3 of them where they are crashing light photons in order to extract antimatter to create neurological weapons. Don't believe me? America is second to Russia when it comes to nuclear weapons. Russia has the #1 amount of nuclear weapons. So that means if some antimatter go the fuck off in Russia on accident, everybody in America is done. So with that being said, when we look at Africa, Africa don't really have nuclear weapons. Now, why would this be? Because they understand the science of not playing with the universe in ways you shouldn't be. So the Caucasian is just out of fucking line. Okay, period. This nigga, we need to stop this nigga immediately. This nigga is cloning, genetic engineering shit. Now this nigga is taking the literal fabrics of time and space. Let this sink in your head. This nigga is taking the shit that makes up time and space, the fabric of reality as we know it, unnaturally harvesting and extracting its material and creating weapons out of this shit. Shit that's so powerful, if it go off, it can destroy this motherfucking planet 100 times over. Okay? So, people don't understand the severity of nuclear weaponry and chemical weaponry. And I need for y'all to understand that. And then you have neuroweaponry. Don't forget about neuroweaponry. Neuroweaponry is weaponry that comes in the form of microchips or let's say nanotechnology that attacks your neurological system. So let's just say they got what you call nanotechnology, family. Let me break this down. Nanotechnology is technology that is nothing more than 1/10 of a billion size in meter. So that being said, nano is smaller than micro. So I need y'all to understand that. You can't see nano. They got shit called chemtrails, which, not chemtrails, C-O-M, like computer, where what nanotechnology does is it bonds to atoms artificially. So why is it important? This is what they're making fake clouds with. See, nanotechnology, see, the Caucasian is not natural, so he uses unnatural means to survive. So now this nigga has found an unnatural way to bond his wickedness to nature. So natural chemicals, for example, water, hydrogen and oxygen are natural. They bond together, they create water. Nanotechnology is artificial pieces of technology which can be imputed with a certain amount of intelligence to act as if it was a chemical which is naturally exists in nature. So what they're doing is they're taking nanotechnology and bonding artificial chemicals together to create shit like fake clouds and all kind of other fake stuff. I'm just using fake clouds because that shit you can go out your house and see right now. So now why is this important? They got what you call chemtrails where they shoot them out of these planes, and these pieces of these nanobites, which are small pieces of technology smaller than 10 to the billion power, 10 to the 9 billion power. So that's 9 billion times 10 against itself. So just imagine the number 10, and you see that small number at the top right, that's called an exponent. So 10 and a 9 at the top. That is the size of nanotechnology, of a minimum. Now, with that being said, these nanobites bond to oxygen molecules, and you breathe them in, and what they do is they attach to your pineal gland and other parts of your brain in the form of what is called electrodes. Now, if you know anything about electrodes is used in what is called BCI. BCI is basic computer interfacing. Go look it up. This is basically like when you see somebody with a prosthetic leg and they're able to control and make the hand move with their brain. This is because the electrode chips impute the neurological signals that are emitted from the brain, and they act as artificial nerves. So this is how people get artificial limbs and shit like that, because they have nanotechnology that can act as if it was the real thing that was once in you due to artificial intelligence. This is why you have to study robotics and I believe what is called synthetic genomics, where they synthetic genomics is where they're creating artificial beings. But I'll do another video on that separately. So with that being said, family, they are preparing you to lose this war. But don't worry, don't be scared, because we can win as long as we keep our frequency high. If not, you're going to lose. So with that being said, nanotechnology is being used to, once it's harvested within the brain and the pineal gland, they're emitting negative signals to the masses. Now, how are they doing this? You have what is called the ionosphere. Now, you got a lot of fears, but we're not going to go through all of them. You got the troposphere, the stratosphere, all that. We're not going all of them. We're going to the ionosphere. Now, ionosphere is where photons from the sun hit the atmosphere, okay, and become charged or radiated or radioactive, ionically charged. Go look up ionization. It's when an atom becomes charged by light. So now the ionosphere is what actually gives the planet its electromagnetic, is what actually helps electrify the electromagnetic magnetosphere of the planet Earth, and it actually helps connects us to the planet Earth and raise our frequency. So once the electrodes are digested through the brain via neural weaponry or nanotechnology being used as a weaponized mechanism, these motherfuckers is kicking signals into the ionosphere, which is affecting the emotional stability and frequency of the planet as a whole. So when you look at the black community and you say, damn, black community, why everybody kill everybody during the summer, but the wintertime the murder rate go down? That's because these motherfuckers is hitting us with the chemtrails. We breathing in this shit, okay? This shit is attaching to our goddamn cerebrums and pineal glands, and then they activating negative aspects of our being through the manipulation of the ionosphere. So this shit is deeper than y'all think. This is why you got people, you got stories of motherfuckers who wear hats during certain times in their country because of the chemtrails, and they got all kind of pieces of technology that's sticking to their goddamn hat. Okay, so you gotta understand how real this shit is, family. So look up chemical warfare, nuclear warfare, and neural weaponry. Okay, this shit is all real. And when we dealing with synthetic genomics, they're creating fake people. Like they're taking DNA from real people, artificially manipulating the shit, the same way they're using technology to artificially bond with atoms, and then creating beings or animals, plants, whatever, that don't exist naturally. So they be done made some shit that got 3 arms, 5 legs, and 4 eyes, based off of them extracting DNA from multiple organisms and binding it together. If you don't believe me, go watch. I'll tell you step by step how this is done in my cloning video. I'll show you step by step. Go watch my cloning video. So if you watch Resident Evil and you know the big zombie thing called Genesis that they fused and made underground, that would be created in a process known as synthetic genomics. So with that being said, family, you know this shit is deeper than we think. It's really getting out of hand at this point in time when it comes to understanding how far we have allowed white supremacy to advance. It's to advance in regards to our oppression. You know, we have so much catching up to do that it's crazy. It's just ridiculous. So I'm not putting us down at all. But I want for us to understand what we need to be studying, you know? Because Martin Luther King's history is not going to stop a motherfucking chemtrail. It's not going to stop chemical warfare. It's not going to stop nuclear warfare and neural weaponry. We need to be creating a race of scientists so that we can combat what is going on against us. We need to be able to, if these motherfuckers is making fake clouds, we need to be able to dismantle the fake cloud. Period. 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 That's all there is to it. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with learning about our ancestors. I'm not trying to deter us from black history, but black history is not going to stop a fucking vaccine. We need to be able to chemically defend ourselves, you know? And I got the definition of synthetic genomics just so I can give y'all what it is flat out. Because I know this is the first time for a lot of y'all. Synthetic genomics is a nascent field of synthetic biology that uses aspects of genetic modification on pre-existing life forms or artificial gene synthesis to create new DNA or entire new life forms. forms. You follow me, family? So go look this. I look into this shit. I buy these books. I have genetics books, biology books. I got a nanotechnology. I have books on everything that I'm telling y'all. I'm speaking to y'all from a point of knowing, and I'm giving y'all the foundation. I'm not even going into the details because I will lose you, because you got to study it into yourself for me to know. Because if I get to talking about nucleotides and peptides and all that, I'm gonna lose y'all. So I'm giving y'all the bulk of what this shit is, okay? So this is all the shit that black people need to be looking out for in 2016 and 17. You need to be looking out for chemical warfare, which they've been hitting us with that. Nuclear warfare, neural weaponry. You know, they got shit like when they was talking about, oh, everybody got to get the chips in their arm and all. That's a neural weapon, okay? Anything that can be inserted into the body against the will or slip or without the conscious consent of an individual and attack or influence or manipulate their neurological system or tissue is categorized as neural weaponry. So all that MK Ultra mind control shit where they put the chip in your head and the chip is the size of a grain of rice, which is actually true, and I show that chip in my biological computer lecture, the second half, that's all a part of neural weaponry. Oh, and now they getting to the point where they finna make synthetic hybrid motherfuckers. We don't know. I ain't in the laboratories. Okay? I know that I just recently found out, which I'll break down, Palladians is a synthetically manufactured European. So Europeans have genetically engineered themselves in an advanced form. When Hitler and all of them motherfuckers was talking about the pure race, the blue-eyed, blonde-haired race, this was synthetic genomics. These motherfuckers was synthetically engineering a better version of themselves because they can't live on this motherfucking planet. Ain't that some shit for your ass? So when people talking about the Nordics and the blue-eyed, blonde-haired motherfuckers that's under the ground, those are genetically engineered Europeans who actually exist under the ground. These motherfuckers have recreated. So I already told y'all white people was genetically engineered. You motherfuckers ain't want to believe me. Now they didn't re-genetically engineer themselves to fuck again, and they're proposing themselves to be an extraterrestrial race when in fact they're not. As I've stated, there is no fucking such thing as a white alien. The universe creates prokaryotic cells which produce melanated beings, okay? With that being said, there's no such thing as a white race of extraterrestrials. The Palladians are Europeans who genetically engineered themselves to an advanced state to where they could live successfully underground at this time because they knew that the fucking sun was heating up. And this is why all these white people is going underground. This is what they doing in all these underground facilities. So with that being said, family, you know this information is detrimental. Please don't take this shit for granted because it will be too late for you. And like I always say, I don't do this shit for nobody to believe me. I don't give a fuck what you believe. I do this for you to know and for you to research. And for those of you who spiritually, like I said, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a leader, I'm an activator. I'm here to flick the light switch on the spirits who need to be turned on and activated at this point in time so that they can cause the effect that they reincarnated to cause on this planet. So with that being said, family, please study these subjects, please study these topics, because this shit is real. The rabbit hole goes real deep, and it goes deeper than you think. We might as well call it an abyss. So with that being said, family, chemical warfare, neurological warfare, nuclear warfare, and synthetic genomics is the 4 tools of white supremacy today that's being used to oppress African people. And the 5th element is psychological warfare, but we can see that through the media, and we can combat that because we can see that. What you can't see is what you putting in your mouth that's destroying the fuck out of you atomically and subatomically and chemically and neurologically. Okay? So with that being said, family, let's start preparing. Let's stop. We don't need no more intelligent ass historians. We don't need that. We need scientists. Period. Warrior scientists. That's all we need for right now in this day and time on this planet. And with that being said, I love y'all. Peace.